No, you're not perfect, but the situation is way better than that. And no, you cannot use the misinterpreted and even bastardized versions of Eastern philosophies to escape the project of self creation, personal growth, and striving for the actualization of your highest possibilities. The journey ahead of you is way more exciting than that. Let me read you a passage that can change your life. In human beings, courage is necessary to make being and becoming possible. An assertion of the self, a commitment, is essential if the self is to have any reality. This is the distinction between human beings and the rest of nature. The acorn becomes an oak by means of automatic growth. No commitment is necessary. The kitten similarly becomes a cat on the basis of instinct. Nature and being are identical in creatures like them. But a man or a woman becomes fully human only by his or her choices and his or her commitment to them. People attain worth and dignity by the multitude of decisions they make day by day. These decisions require courage. The one and only, the great Rollo May. Okay, I get so fired up reading this, and I've read this quote, this passage, thousands of times. Why do I get so excited by it? Why do I think it points to the excitement and adventure of your journey that is far greater than the fake journey of thinking that you are a complete project, a complete process? Once again, this is a misinterpretation and bastardization and the abuse of ideas from Eastern philosophies that in some way do claim that you are perfect the way you are. But again, that message has been warped, where in the West, in recent decades, it is interpreted as you don't have to make an effort to become who you can be. While those philosophies try to send the message that you are complete because you are part of the universe, just like universe is what you are made of. Now we will not dive into whole dissection of different ideas that influenced these fake movements nowadays that again send the message life should be effortless. Personal growth shouldn't be striving. It should be effortless movement towards who you are meant to be, or there should be no movement. You are already who you are meant to be. Why is this message infinitely greater, infinitely more relevant, and I will say infinitely more applicable to you as a human being? Because it points to the essence of what it means to be human, or the essence of human existence. Those who are familiar with existential psychology and philosophy will notice how funny this sounds. Essence and existence being merged together, or the essence of existence. Funny way to put it, but either way. Courage and commitment. Courage and commitment. Also choices and decisions that require courage and commitment. It points to the fact that you are, as a human being, constantly in the process of becoming, in the process of creation. You are an unfinished project, and that's good news. That's great news, because no one can put you in a box. No matter the disadvantages that you have been born with, no matter the labels that have been placed on you by someone else, you are not defined by that, and you are not a finished project. Now, this is not sending the message, the idealistic, overly idealistic message, you can become anything. Regardless of the background that you were born in, you can become anything. No. Life, unfortunately, isn't that type of fairy tale. Life can be a different type of fairy tale. But this is sending a message that you are constantly, or should be constantly, engaged in the process of becoming who you can be, becoming who you want to be. And let's point to this difference between us and the rest of nature. As far as we know, we are the only creatures who are fully aware of the passing of time. You are a creature who can reflect on his or her past and project into the future. So how could you disengage from the process of self-creation? The kitten or a puppy grows on the basics or on the basis of instinct. They drink water, they eat the food that's been given to them or that is available around them, and that's pretty much it. You are the one who can project into the future, who can see the possibilities. And that's one of your burdens, of course, the infinite possibilities. That's why Soren Kierkegaard, the OG of existentialism, called anxiety the dizziness of freedom. Freedom, what type of freedom? Well, the freedom to choose one of the infinite possibilities. So yes, it is a burden that you are aware of time's passing. It is a burden that you can reflect on the painful future. But it's also a superpower that you can extract useful material. I said reflecting on the painful future. I wanted to say reflecting on the painful past. But it's a superpower that you can extract useful material from the past. That you can, as you're moving forward, constantly revise the past by collecting new material that makes past make more sense. I made video about this, or videos about this, talking about how the function of the future is way different than just memory. It's always in relation to our present and the future. Function of the past is not just reminiscence, it's not just dwelling. The function of the past is to help us keep constructing a healthy, powerful, loving, exciting, adventurous present and future. So yes, all of these things can sound overwhelming. Yes, it can be. It's supposed to be overwhelming sometimes to be human. But that's the whole point. That's the whole point, that you are not a cow that's eating grass and laying down, and that's your whole existence. Your existence is infinitely more adventurous. There is a price for that. And that price is a dose of normal, existential, healthy anxiety. Now, does that sometimes develop into neurotic anxiety, unhelpful, unconstructive anxiety? For sure. But the origins of us being overwhelmed by life are perfectly normal and should lead to jumping into life. So get excited, acknowledge the sense of being overwhelmed, because that's how it is supposed to be. Imagine what you are experiencing. You are experiencing being a creature who can continuously engage with the past and even change the past on the basis of the present they are experiencing and the future they are building. You're a creature who can project into the future and imagine infinite possibilities, and then has the freedom to choose one of those possibilities. What are we even talking about? How not to be overwhelmed? How not to be excited? Where is the line between overwhelmment or sense of overwhelm and excitement and anxiety? Where is the line? I'm not sure we can always tell. I'm not sure we are supposed to always tell or identify the line. I'm pretty sure of another thing though. I'm pretty sure that we are always, regardless whether it's overwhelm or anxiety or excitement, and regardless of whether the difference really exists at all times, regardless of all of that, we are always supposed to jump into life, jump into experience. As Kierkegaard said, life is not a problem to be solved, but a reality to be experienced. How can you experience reality other than living it, other than jumping into it? How do you jump into life? How do you jump into human existence? Because I'm throwing this phrase over and over again. And I started mentioning it first in my writing around 5 years ago. Jump into life, jump into life, jump into life. How do you jump into life? Choice, decision, commitment, courage. Or let's say courage is the underlying thing needed for choice, decision, commitment. That's how you jump into life. Not by doing something insanely impressive, extravagant, by objective measures of the society. No. By making that choice or commitment or making a choice or a decision, and then strengthening it with commitment. But that choice and decision is supposed to be something related to your life. It doesn't matter if it's you finally signing up for those foreign language classes, or if it's you finally committing that you will not engage in arguments with that person in your life who's constantly managing to trigger you, or whether it's you making a commitment that you will be actually engaging in more constructive discussions with one of your loved ones, or it's you making a commitment that you will approach life more playfully, or it's you making a commitment that you will finally start going on daily walks to do justice to your body. Any one of these can be you jumping into life. Any one of these counts if you make that choice, that decision, and then strengthen it with commitment. But all of this requires courage. Yes, studying a new language requires courage. Yes, signing up for a gym membership requires courage. Yes, texting that friend or calling a loved one, all of that requires courage. All of these commitments to shift the direction of your life, to shift the attitude with which you are living, all of these require courage. All of these require courage. Becoming who you can be requires courage. Choosing a career requires immense courage. But courage is the only way through. Because if we are given the task of self-creation, if we are given the task to direct our own existence, rather than as a kitten, just on the basis of instinct become who we are or who we are supposed to be, if we are given those tasks and those challenges, what is the alternative? What is the alternative? The alternative is that you actively resist creating yourself and your life. There is no stagnation. There is no such thing as harmony and peace on the basis of not striving. There is no such thing. There is you creating yourself with courage and commitment, not with full certainty, but in the face of uncertainty, in the face of being overwhelmed by life's complexity, in the face of this existential, natural anxiety, you choosing a path and moving forward and making commitment, or spiritually and psychologically deteriorating because you're actively resisting the process of self-creation. Those are the two options. There is no such thing as let me just be. You are not a rock. You are not an acorn. You are not a kitten. Unfortunately, although I think it's not unfortunately, you cannot just be. You can just be on a given day when you think you need to reset, when you think you need to give yourself a break. But that cannot be your attitude towards life. Let me just be and see where the flow of life takes me. No, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. I get riled up because I have, by this point, spoken to hundreds of people on this topic. Because I've been privileged that my writing has reached many people, and the existential themes of my writing have sometimes inspired people and sometimes have, rubbed people the wrong way. And I've spoken to hundreds of people on this topic. And sometimes, because I can relate. I've been paralyzed before in my life. I've been paralyzed psychologically, existentially, spiritually, not knowing what to do. So I can relate to people when they find issue with this, saying, but what about the idea that life is supposed to feel effortless? That life is supposed to feel, the default state of life should be that flow. where I'm not making decisions, where I'm not required to choose courage in order to make a decision and then to make a strong commitment. Life is not supposed to be like that. What about the promise of ever-flowing, effortless life with zero resistance, with zero sense of being overwhelmed? I'm not here to say that I possess the absolute truth. Real philosophy, not mental masturbation, academic type of philosophy. Real philosophy is engaging in these ideas, seeing how you relate to them, seeing how they relate to the lived experience of life. That's real philosophy. We are here together philosophizing, not as a derogatory term, because sometimes philosophizing is a derogatory term. In my country it is. In my country, in my language, when you say someone, you're a philosopher, that's an insult. Because philosophy is perceived as this thing of, just throwing out big words and abstract concepts to sound smart. No. Philosophy is you and I having this conversation and you not taking this, what I'm saying, as absolute truth. You go ahead and try seeing how this relates to the lived experience of your life versus how just let me be relates and translates to the lived experience of your life. You try it out, you see. So this is a challenge. This is not an ask to see me as the Messiah who has all of the answers, but this is a passionate challenge. I don't want to be right so that you can come back and say, oh, you're so smart. No. I want you to feel the fire in your heart and to feel excited and a bit nervous about how great and immense the project of human existence is. I want you to feel that excitement because I don't want you to pass through this life in an apathetic mode. I don't want you to pass through this life in passive mode, being sold on the idea that you can just exist as you are, not choosing, not making a decision, not making a commitment, not striving. I don't want you to fall into that trap. Why? If you ask me why, I have no better explanation than to say that I've experienced both sides. And I know what it's like to lean in to the sense of being overwhelmed and to lean in to the healthy and normal anxiety and to come out on the other side over and over and over again with greater appreciation for life itself, for your life, with greater excitement, with greater courage, because every time you choose courage and make a commitment, you increase your capacity for courage and you increase your capacity to make a strong commitment. And with that increase in courage, you always move toward being more and more authentic, more and more yourself. You always move toward fuller and fuller expression of what is in you. You always move forward greater creativity. And you don't have to be an artist. Greater creativity as a human being. Creativity in your relationships. Greater curiosity about other human beings. Why should I be so fired up? Why should I be so fired up if not because I'm infinitely curious and passionate about humans? The passion that I have is coming from a very human and very flawed existence full of mistakes. And that's accessible to you. It's accessible to you to be excited about life, to be excited about humans, to be curious about life, to be curious about other humans. For that to translate into greater depth of living, into greater joy of living, greater intensity of living. It's possible, it's accessible. It's there for all of us. But it requires leaning into the challenge of self-creation. Because to the extent that you engage in the challenge of self-creation, you're also closer to others, not just closer to yourself. You are ever and ever becoming more more deeply connected to humanity as a whole. So yeah, this is a rant on why you're not perfect as you are, but the situation is infinitely better, infinitely more exciting. I'm just hoping to nudge you in the direction of courage, passion, choice, commitment. Because I know what it can bring to you. I know. So thank you for persisting through this maybe chaotic rant. But it comes from heart. It comes from heart. Once again, thank you. Stay strong. Love life. Jump into existence. Never feel sorry for yourself. Don't choose passive existence. Take the control over the direction of your life. Light a fire in your heart, light a raging fire in your heart, because you have the capacity to do so. Wake up excited. Wake up excited for the fact that you have this fire burning in your heart and that you are headed towards becoming who you can be, and always go beyond. Thank you.